Good morning. Welcome back. So it's going to be a hot, humid day until the storms roll through this afternoon, it sounds like. I've got some computer work I'm working on this morning. We got our prices on the Golden Harvest corn and beans and stuff, and so I'm working through some pricing scenarios and trying to figure out what everything's going to cost for my growers and putting together a price calculator, that kind of stuff. Dad needs some help this morning. He's been on vacation since they left Thursday or Friday last week, I guess, Friday, and got back last night. He's got a project he's working on. He said, "Can you come help me so I don't kill myself?" Yeah, sure, we can do that. He wants to get rid of this old tank. We had set this tank here. It's an old tank like the ones we're cleaning out. The bottom had rusted out of it. We replaced them, and he cut a big door in here and had been using it for firewood storage. But we don't burn enough firewood to justify having it here. He doesn't like it here. He wants to clean up this whole south side of the barn and reuse some stuff. So we're gonna get rid of it. I'm not real sure what he needs my help for, but it's good video nonetheless. So he's gonna just pull it over. He cut us timber. All right. Didn't really need my help. He's gonna cut that up with a torch and scrap it. Oh boy. All right, well, we've been working on seed stuff. I'm waiting for some information from some people, so I can't do much more until I get said information on how exactly some of the discounts are applied. Stuff's not cheap, but it's not outrageous. From what I understand, we're cheaper than everybody else. I don't know. That remains to be seen. I got some lawn to mow, so I'm gonna go and do that for a little bit while I'm waiting on a response, and we'll see what else is going on this afternoon. We got to go scout some fields. Also, it might rain. Kind of looks like rain. Yeah, so we'll see. But we need to go start looking at some bean fields. We've spent a lot of time looking at corn and very little time looking at beans, and we gotta start looking at beans. All right, I'm done mowing, cut our path mowed, all that stuff down at my seed warehouse. Dad's still working on his tank. He's getting it broke down. We're gonna go scout some bean fields, take a look at some stuff. These are pretty good beans here. So we're standing in one of our early planted fields, or most of it. It was planted in April, I believe. These are a 3.4 maturity, 3442 XF Golden Harvest. And these are the fullest season beans that we plant here, which means they're going to be the last ones we combine, most likely late maturing. But yeah, they're knee to thigh high on me. They look pretty good. They're clearly have canopied the rows, full coverage of the soil, which means we are capturing every drop of sunlight that's hitting this field. That is really good. We've got nice big leaves, so I don't see any pathogens, any disease pressure really, but we do have some insect feeding. You'll notice some holes in some of these leaves. Some of it, there's some bugs out here. I don't know what we've got exactly. Maybe some bean beetles, grasshoppers, some caterpillars of some sort or another. So I don't like seeing that. If we look down in the canopy, you'll see some yellow leaves on the bottom with some disease on it there. We've got a little bit of brown spot. I believe that the yellowing on the bottom leaves is largely a function of there's no sunlight down there. There's no light getting to those leaves, so they're just not producing chlorophyll and they're not doing anything anymore. So I was going to, oh yeah, look at all that feeding. I want to pull a plant from right here because in this strip right here is where I sprayed some V2, V3, some early fungicide on some beans. You guys may remember that when we were doing some of the V5 corn applications. I came into this field, made 2 rounds, a strip over here, a strip over by the woods, just to get some comparison stuff. And so we're gonna pull a plant from here. We're gonna walk over that way about 300 feet, pull another plant, and we'll compare the amount of disease on the lower leaves especially. Well, I'm in a different spot now. Here's our plant with the fungicide. We're gonna walk out here a little bit and we'll pull one without. We'll take them back to the gator and do some comparisons, and I'll show you some stuff on beans and what we're looking for here. All right, here's our two plants with the early fungicide and without. Honestly, I don't see a ton of difference. There's even maybe a few more yellow leaves on here. Maybe that's because there's less sunlight getting down low, a little bit better canopy closure. I don't know. We're going to focus on this plant. We're going to talk about it just a little bit. So how do we stage soybeans? You guys have heard me talk about the growth stage on corn where we count the leaf collars. We get to VT, that's a when it's starting to tassel, and then R1 is starts the reproductive stages when we start seeing silks, that kind of stuff. So on soybeans, we can stage them based on how many trifoliates or where the pods are and the size of the pods and the flowering. And so these plants, I would say, are a late V2 stage. So what we're going to do is look for the first fully expanded trifoliate. So all soybean leaves come in these groups of 3. That is a trifoliate. And we're going to look at the main stem, which is right here, or on this plant is right here. We want the first fully expanded one. So this one here is fully expanded where the leaf edges are no longer touching. We have a trifoliate right here. They're still touching. That's not expanded. Okay, so we're going to count down the top 4 nodes from there. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you can see we've got flowers. We've got a flower. We've got dead flowers, or not really dead, just past their flowering stage flowers. But we don't really have any pods on there yet. So this plant is flowering from top to bottom. I would call this a late V2 bean. If on this node or any of those top 4 nodes, we had a pod that was 3/16 of an inch long, about a quarter of an inch, or just over a quarter of it, just under a quarter of an inch, then they would be considered R3. R3 is critical timing for soybeans because that's when we need to be spraying fungicides out here and really pushing our beans and when a lot of yield is made. So you can see we've got lots of branches with flowers and nodes and pods, and that's all good. We like seeing that. On our lower pods or nodes here, lots of flowers. I am not seeing a ton of pods yet. It's interesting to me because on this plant that did not get the early fungicide, we've actually got some pods here. We're starting to fill those out a little bit more. This one's a little bit farther along. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I would almost consider this to be R3 already because we've got some little pods here, whereas that one's not. So maybe our fungicide delayed it a little bit, which is interesting to me. I'm not saying good or bad one way or the other, just interesting. Overall, they look really good. I'm pretty happy with them. I don't like the feeding that I'm seeing out there. We got some holes here. I don't like that these bottom leaves are yellow. I thought maybe our fungicide would help curtail that a little bit, or I especially don't like the black spots on them. That's disease. But we're going to hit them with another shot of fungicide, our Miravis Neo, here soon. And hopefully we'll have great soybeans out here. The other thing we're going to do is kind of look at the back side of these leaves, looking for soybean aphids. Generally, you want to look at those very, very new leaves. They're the softest, tenderest, where the aphids really like to hang out. We're probably a couple of weeks early on aphids. Usually they're an August pest. I do not see any here. So that's good. Yeah, I don't see any. But there's other bugs out there. We're probably going to put some insecticide in on our beans when we spray the fungicide because of all the other bugs, and hopefully that'll keep the aphids from ever even getting started. So I would have shown you the nodules on the roots, but I kind of stripped them all off when I pulled these plants out. You can see right here we've got a couple really big ones there. I just broke it off. That is a soybean root nodule. Basically there's a symbiotic relationship with some bacteria in the soil, Bradyrhizobia, or our inoculant that we're putting on beans when we are treating soybeans, that it feeds on the soybean roots, but in turn it produces nitrogen for the soybeans and it helps feed those plants. That's why we don't put nitrogen on soybeans. They can kind of make their own out of atmospheric nitrogen, which is a really cool thing. So that's what we're finding here. We're going to go look at a few other fields just to see what kind of growth stage we're at and what all we've got out there that we're dealing with. Okay, we're in another field of beans. This is the very first planted field. Similar maturity, we're a 3.3 bean right here, so just a touch earlier than the 3.4s that we were in earlier. And they look pretty similar growth stage wise. I don't really see any full pods or beginning pods on those top 4 nodes. I would call these late R2s. Probably by the first of next week, we're going to be pushing R3 though, and thinking about fungicide. I did manage to get a little bit better roots on this one, and you can see, look at all of those nitrogen fixing root nodules in there. All those big honking ones, they look fantastic. We got great nodulation on these beans. I'm going to tell you that it's because of all the inoculants that I put on with our, oh no, that one's dead. See how that's kind of brown inside and not red? You want your nodules to be red inside. I was trying to break one open good to see it, but I'm not going to be able to, I don't think, with one hand. Now that one, can you see that one? Can't look at my phone, so I don't know. But this one right here at the tip of my finger, that one's got a nice good color inside, so that looks good. Producing lots of nitrogen, feeding our beans. They look pretty good. The thing is, the soybean crop's made in August, right? So we're getting to that critical time now where we're flowering a lot, we're putting a lot of pods on, but it's all about whether or not it rains in the month of August. If it doesn't rain in August, the beans will shrivel up, the pods will abort, we just won't have very much there. If it rains and we have decent moisture all through the month of August, then those pods will fill out, we won't lose as many, we'll have great big beans, and they will add up and we'll have good yields. So, long ways to go on this crop. Well, I wasn't going to completely stay away from the corn. I mean, we were close, so we had to come up and check on our irrigation field and see how things look up here. We are starting to see brown silk. You guys see this? So, in our corn growth stages, once we get to brown silk, we're past pollination. So let's pull this ear and I will show you. Remember last week I pulled an ear and I showed you how you can tell that the silks grow from the butt of the ear out to the tip, and that once the pollen has made it down that silk to each individual kernel, that the silk detaches and falls off, and that's how you can check pollination progress. Well, given that these are all turning brown, we can now see how much of that ear is pollinated. I see a few fresh silks here, so I'm guessing there's some kernels still on the tip that are looking for pollen. We probably still have some out here. There's a lot of pollen on these leaves yet, so we'll still get a little bit, but let's pull an ear and take a look at it. While I'm still looking here, we've got a lot of Japanese beetles, silk clippers. Fortunately, we're mostly through pollination. I don't know, that one's, he's chewing on there pretty good. I hate seeing that. When the plane put fungicide on here, they were supposed to, not by my choice, but they were supposed to add in some insecticide. It should have killed them little buggers. But they're still here, aren't they? Alright, let's see what this one looks like. Tried to do this as gentle as possible. There. See how clean the bottom of that ear is? But we still got some attached at the top. Those ones at the tip are still trying to pollinate. Right there. Hopefully they get it. Hopefully there's still some pollen available and we can pollinate those, because that's quite a bit to not. Now keep in mind, we've got this planted super thick, so I don't expect to see huge ears out here, but we're going to have a huge number of them. So we'll count this here, see what it calculates out at. Well, I counted 16 by 50. I know that probably 5 or so on the tip aren't really pollinated, so even if we said that was a 16 by 45 ear, I got 40,000 of them out here. Let's do some math, right? So we'll take our 16, we need to figure out how many kernels are on here. 16 times 45. Let's do the math on that. So that would be 720 kernels on this ear. So the next thing we need to figure out is how many kernels are there per acre, how many ears per acre. Well, we planted this at 42,000. Let's assume we lost a couple. We'll say there's 38,000 of these ears in an acre. Seems like a reasonable number. Eventually, later in the summer, we'll come back and we'll get a tape measure and we'll actually count them. But we're just going to use 38,000 for right now because it's going to be an impressive number. So we're going to take 720 times 38. That is 27,360,000. We just do it by 38. We don't really need that because we're we're just not using some zeros. 27,360. Okay, so now we need to know how many kernels are there going to be in a bushel. Typically, you would use 90,000 as your standard. 90,000 kernels. I hope to do better than that. I hope that there is only 70,000 kernels in a bushel. If it gets super dry and things don't develop anymore, it may be 110,000 in a bushel. But this is irrigated corn. We're going to be closer to 70. So let's divide it by 70. That would be equal to 390 bushel per acre corn. If we had 38,000 of these and there's 70,000 kernels in a bushel. Those are unlikely. Both unlikely. But this is dang good corn. We just got to keep the moisture to it to get them filled out. So we're not dry here yet. That's another thing I was checking. It's still moist in between the rows. It is supposed to rain today. I am banking on it raining today. If it does not, we're going to think about starting irrigation up again. I don't know about tomorrow, but real soon. So hope it rains today. I don't know if he's got a plan or he's just cut until he doesn't feel like cutting anymore and then pull it apart. I don't know. He's making progress. We're gonna go look at these beans back here. Okay, looking at these beans out here, we actually have two different varieties. There's 3 1s over there, 2 8s from here over. This I believe is one of the 2 8s. They are a little farther along. See that little pod right there? That's an R3 growth stage. So I'm not gonna spray today because it's too windy and chance of rain and stuff, but we're probably looking at the first of next week. We're going to be spraying a lot of beans. So these don't look too bad. I don't know. I'm not super impressed with our beans, but beans will deceive you. They usually look better in August. Just need more time to grow vegetatively. Yeah. They're not bad. They're not bad. Look, there's a volunteer corn. We got to get it. Okay. All right, across the lane over there, we have some 2-2s. I expect them to be even further along. Those are super early. That's the earliest we've got. The reason they're in that field is because we're going to plant wheat in that field. So let's go see. Still seeing some bug feeding. These beans are shorter than the other ones that we have been in. Come on. Healthier though. Let's put yellow leaves like that. And smaller leaves. Don't like that. Lots of branches. I don't know. I've had really good luck with these super early beans, and it's counterintuitive, but let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. About the same as the ones across the lane. Really not much farther along. So next week, bean fungicide. Look, the volunteer wheat's growing already. Yay. Oh, it's good. We want it to grow now so it doesn't grow later in the summer or the spring. And if I find the right spot, look. Remember those beans we planted when we were just emptying the bean planter out? They're growing. Doesn't matter that they're growing because we aren't going to do anything with them, but they're growing. Oh! They're following our chicken litter. Yeah. So we have chicken litter spread every year. We usually do some wheat stubble. And we're going to do all the wheat stubble this year. They have started to haul it and pile it. And it stinks. And it's hot. And it stinks. Right there. That's a little pile. I don't know if they're bringing more or not. But we put about 2 tons of chicken litter on per acre. It's really good fertilizer. Very, very good fertilizer for our corn crop for next year. That wasn't all of it. There goes another load right there. Oh, look. Remember I told you we were getting a cell phone tower? That was like 3 or 4 months ago. There's no equipment on it, but there's people working. Maybe I'll have decent cell phone service here soon. Got a pole by the road. Look at what I found. They brought me my fungicide. Finally. It must have come yesterday. I just called them because I'm like, hey, I need this. And you guys haven't brought it out yet. And he's like, well, we brought it yesterday. I'm like, no, you didn't. I didn't see it. I was expecting boxes. I was expecting lots and lots of boxes. And it's in a shuttle, which is even better. So sweet. There's 180 gallons in there. That'll go a long ways. We've got some insecticide to put in with our beans. We've got a little bit more of our sugar and some onward to put in on some beans. We've got a little bit of some foliar manganese stuff that's for our muck. Well, that one, Dad was working with that stuff. But anyway, yeah, cool. So tomorrow, Zach, the Haggy guy, is coming back. We're going to do 2 more loads of fungicide, and we're going to use the Miravis Neo, and then we're going to be done spraying corn, hopefully. There is a slight risk yet, I don't know how slight it is, but there is a chance and a possibility of having to spray some of this corn a second time, which I do not want to do. Do not want to do. But we will if we have to. We sprayed a little bit on the early side on some of this stuff because we have tar spot, it's already there. And I'm afraid that if we would have waited, it would have gotten much worse. But by going early, we cut off the tail end of our residuals, so our protection is gonna run out in the middle of August, and we still have corn crop to protect. So we'll see. Hopefully we don't have to do it again, but if we have to do it again, we're gonna do it again. Looks like he made a little progress. Got her all loaded up and everything. All right, loaded up some other stuff. Cool. I think he's got plans of a lean-to off of the side or something to stack boards in, dry out of the rain. I don't know. Anyway, I've got to go. We got a T-ball game tonight. Last one. It's the last one. Don't feel like I accomplished a whole lot here, but I did. I just spent a lot of time working on the computer when it was 150 degrees out here. And I'm getting progress on my seed stuff there and figuring stuff out there. I can't show you the prices, so I'm sorry. So if anybody is local and you want some prices, I can get them for you, but I can't put them on the internet. Anyway, have a great night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. We got the rest of our corn fungicide going on tomorrow. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I will see you in the morning.